Hey everybody, after being deregistered as a religion in Norway in 2021 for their religious shunning practices being deemed a violation of human rights, Watchtower, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the entity behind Jehovah's Witnesses, has sued the state of Norway, claiming the lack of state funding is a violation of their religious liberties because they don't even shun people, and the people they do shun deserve it anyway. So we will be recapping the first week of a Norway versus Jehovah's Witness trial. All that and more on today's... Hey everyone, my name is Jake. We are live. I am a former Jehovah's Witness, current guy talking about Jehovah's Witnesses on the internet. Welcome to the show. This is a live show if you've never been here for one of these before, or if you are watching in the far-flung future. This is a pretty laid-back conversation. It will be structured. We're going to go through the week in court that Watchtower had, a very bad week in court. But it is a bit more laid back. We're going to be hanging out, talking with people in chat, and hopefully there will be timestamps in the future. I don't know why I said hopefully. I am going to do that. Sorry, I had like a really great written introduction, and then I accidentally deleted it and had to say that kind of lame one that I said right at the top. So thank you for joining us. There's a lot to go over. A couple bits of business right up top. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, no, this is not just a live channel now. I am working on a main channel video. It's just taking a long time because it's a big project with a lot more editing than I normally do. So thank you for sticking with me with the live broadcast. And this is a really exciting one because Watchtower is really being held to account in a way that we don't normally see. I was watching this morning when I was supposed to be pulling clips and articles for this broadcast. I saw that XJW Live was streaming. If you haven't seen that channel, go check them out. And it's just been really fun to see everybody in this ex-Jehovah's Witness community feeling validated, feeling very frustrated, rightfully, at Watchtower's arguments, and being vindicated a little bit. You know, as we will see, Watchtower had just clips of their own stuff played to the court, videos on their public website that they advertise all the time. And as we talk about a lot on this channel, the number one way to debunk witness arguments that they make about their religion in court is to just, show what they say on their website and the things that they publish in their videos. So it's been really exciting to see. We've got some great folks in chat. I want to get into, before I get into chat and super chats and things like that, let's dive right into this so I don't meander for too long. I'm really upset. I really had a nice introduction that I wrote out, and I refreshed the screen, and it was gone. It all died. So to help us get a recap of how we got to this point, what is this lawsuit that happened? Let's take a look at Jan Frode Nielsen, his recap of how we got here. If you're not aware, Jan Frode Nielsen is probably the primary activist in Norway who was pushing for legislation in the first place that could hold religious abuse to account. And he really got the ball rolling, him and other activists in Norway. So he's been a part of this case from day one. And he provided a really nice recap last year before the trial had even started. If you want to watch, there's an interview that I did with him on the channel before, and hopefully we'll be able to do a follow-up interview here soon. He's obviously very busy and probably exhausted. He actually took the stand, so we will be able to look at some of what he said in his testimony, at least from the reporting. We don't have any video of the trial yet. I actually don't know if there ever would be video of the trial. I mean, even in the States, it's always like iffy as to whether or not video is allowed. So, okay, summary/status regarding Norway. There's some important context here. So 1, Norway funds all religions, but there are terms that need to be met. So Norway, the state gives religions money to take care of the religious community. I didn't say that very well. I don't know why I felt the need to add to that. It was pretty clear. After years of battling Watchtower with letters and articles, the state has concluded that Watchtower breaks those terms. So that much we have covered on the channel before. Basically, the argument is children can be baptized. Baptism is a binding contract within the religion. As you know, if you're in chat, you're probably a former Jehovah's Witness or current Jehovah's Witness who is peeking in. I saw that we had some PMO folks, some folks who are physically in, mentally out. So those are people who know that it's not the truth, but are stuck in because of the disfellowshipping practices. They don't want to be shunned and lose their entire social network. And children can be baptized. I know that I showed an article. Actually, I think I've got a screenshot of their website where just on their website, they have an 8-year-old kid getting baptized. You can get baptized very young, and you can be locked into this contract that has lifelong consequences for ever leaving. So they don't have freedom of religious choice. Minors can be baptized, locked into a contract, and then are forced to stick with this religion forever or be shunned by their own family. And that is what Norway has determined is a violation of their rights. Now, what does that mean? So funding for 2021 was denied. And if no new information appears or policy changes, this will be a permanent decision for all years to come. All Watchtower appeals in the government system have been considered and denied. When they now are removed from the funding system, their name is on the full list of their name on the list of funded religions will be removed. That's what we call registration. It's not a list of allowed religions in Norway, but a list of funded religions. They are still free to worship, preach, and gather as always. No difference. Their current registration, this was current, a year ago. Their registration for 2022 would not be renewed for 2023. So this is really important. Watchtower is trying to go to court to claim religious persecution. They're saying, "Oh my God, it's like Russia. It's like Russia. Russia. No puppet. You're the puppet." This is what they're saying. They're basically saying this is persecution. We're a minority religion. Our rights are being taken away. In reality, none of their rights are taken away. They just don't get free money. And the reality is that Norway, being like a democratically socialist state, as I understand it, just provides funding for lots of different social services. There is an expectation that the money that they give religions would be used to help the members. But as we know, all money that's given to the Norway branch is just funneled up to Watchtower because financially, the organization is structured like an MLM. Money only flows up, not back down. So that's kind of, yes. So as far as how much money we're talking about, I believe they're suing for the last several years of not free money, of not getting free money, which I believe is currently in like $5 million US. We'll get that full figure for sure later. I wanted to point out, Jan in the comments of this thread said something really interesting that I didn't know at all. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay. An interesting aspect is that Mormons don't apply for funding in Norway. They are fine without the payout. That means they are not registered in this system in Norway, and they don't have matrimonial privilege. We'll get to that in a second. This shows how weak Watchtower's lawsuit is, as the Mormons, of course, have full religious freedom in Norway, even without it, and they don't complain either. So I didn't know that. That's really important. They're claiming religious persecution when they are as free as they always have been. Now, the one thing that they mentioned was that matrimonial freedom. As a result of them being deregistered as a religion, a Kingdom Hall wedding, Kingdom Halls being the places of worship for Jehovah's Witnesses, if you've never been a member, it used to be that you could just get married in a Kingdom Hall and it would be like getting married in a church. Now it's not considered like a legal ceremony. I'm not articulating this very well, but there's nothing preventing a witness from getting married in a kingdom hall in the sense of having the ceremony in a kingdom hall. They would just also need to go to the courthouse and sign a legal document, which is the case in a lot of states anyway, or not states, but countries and continents. I remember my uncle got married to, he's a witness, and he got married to a missionary in Canada. And at the Kingdom Hall wedding, they had to sign the legal document on stage. It was kind of odd. They after they said "I do" and everything, they went to this table and signed the little document. So anyway, it's not that big of a deal. Just to go over a couple of things here. Connected to the list of funded religions or the matrimonial privilege, when they are removed, this privilege disappears. They can still have the Kingdom Hall ceremony, as always, for those approved, aka those lying about funding, etc. But to make the marriage legal, the couple will have to sign the papers in the courthouse/city hall instead of inside the Kingdom Hall. That's the only difference. If they are smart, they will sign the papers some days ahead and get started. Have the Kingdom Hall ceremony without blue balls. This is Jan's editorializing. We would never make those kinds of jokes on the channel. Just kidding. They should write a letter and say thanks for their calm. Okay. That part we don't agree. Watchtower have sued the Norwegian government in court to get the funding back. Their counterpart will be the Ministry of Children and Family, as religion is part of their ministry. Watchtower's claim is that this decision is a breach of the freedom of religion and human rights. That's basically how we got here, right? But what I like about this recap is that Jan kind of shows how stupid this decision was, right? Just to read a couple more of these. This injunction was approved in a rush. So they got an injunction, a temporary injunction that would protect the Jehovah's Witnesses from any change when the current registration runs out in 2022. A few days after this demand was filed. So they got this temporary injunction. Watchtower then basically claimed legal victory, even though that didn't happen. He says Watchtower plays pretend and lets the whole world know that the attempt to remove the registration of Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway has been suspended. Praise be. And yet, he obviously wrote this a year ago. The real court case had not even begun. So that's a bit of background as to how we got here. Just to shout out a couple of comments from some of the folks watching. David Rose, this was a really interesting comment. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. My mom went back to Jehovah's Witnesses after 23 years out. She's a full-on parroting zombie again. Your humor has kept me sane through this. Thank you for the humor and hard work. Thank you. That's very nice. I'm sorry to hear about your mom going back. If you're comfortable talking about it, let us know what her reasoning was. I find that interesting. When I was watching XJW Live earlier, they were talking about how sometimes getting disfellowshipped is what causes people to realize that they're in a cult, because a lot of witnesses, disfellowshipping is just this thing that of. It's this threat hanging over your head all the time, but until you experience it, you don't really understand how cruel it is. And so a lot of people, when they get disfellowshipped and leave, they're like, hey, wait a minute, this is actually really messed up. I had a friend who woke up after getting reinstated, and something about seeing the 180 that the congregation was able to pull. They're reinstated and suddenly, boom, she's not shunned. She's treated like a normal person again. Everyone talks to her. That was the thing that was wait, this is so artificial. Anyway, thanks to Brian. Thankfully, I was never baptized. If you're watching this and you're studying or you're an unbaptized publisher, don't get baptized. That's my advice for me personally. And Queen of Flatulence calls me beautiful, which I accept. I accept your compliments. However, I felt cringe reading multiple compliments of myself. It must stop. It must stop right now. So, what happened in this trial? Where should we go next? So, the trial this week. If you've not seen Watchtower in court before, everything that they are saying in this trial, in their defense, is stuff that they have tried multiple times before, and usually it works. Usually, I don't know if it's just a lack of due diligence on the part of prosecution and not doing a good enough job of showing the discrepancy between what the group argues in court versus what it says in their publications. But this is different. This court trial is different. I'm not a legal expert. I should say that. We do have a legal expert in chat, Kim Sylvia, who's nice enough to answer a question for me yesterday, actually. So let's get into just something I wanted to show as an example of, because we don't have video of this, I thought it might be good to just show video of what it was probably like in the courtroom. So this is a Canadian Supreme Court case in 2017. David Nam, a Watchtower lawyer. I played this clip in another video. If you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you've almost certainly seen this. It's one of the most egregious examples of just literally lying on the stand. And this is a Watchtower lawyer. Somebody remind me to talk about theocratic warfare after we're done with this. But this is a good example of the kind of lies you can expect to see and the disparity between what he says here and what their publications say. So let's look at this.
Decision that Mr. Wall was not sufficiently repentant for his disgraceful conduct, and the congregation elders took the decision to disfellowship him. That word is used by Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses don't use the word shun or shunning. They refer to it as disfellowship, disfellowshipping, disfellowshipped, because that really gives the sense of what's taking place within this particular religious community. Disfellowship literally means no further spiritual fellowship. As I point out at paragraph 22 of my factum, the nature of the relationship then of a disfellowship
more like rectum
is not completely shunned. As far as their family members are concerned, normal family relations continue with the exception of spiritual fellowship.
After the Channel 4 documentary. Okay. So yeah, that lying bullshit. Sorry. I do curse on this stream. Not everybody likes that. So I do try and not to, but even when I was a witness, I've just always had a sailor mouth. Bad habit I picked up as a kid. Yes. Watchtower. If anybody's watching, I was leading a double life as a witness. So anyway, I played this because I made this video about a really infuriating text, like a daily text. Jehovah's Witnesses have this, they have this daily scripture thing that a lot of Christians have, like a lot of churches do. Is like, oh, here's a daily Bible reading thing. And witnesses have this. It's a scripture and it's a comment from the Watchtower. So in July of last year, as this shit was happening in Norway and driving me insane, they had the daily text that completely contradicted everything they were saying. So I just wanted to play this just so we can get a sense of what the difference is between what Watchtower publications say and what their lawyers say, because that dynamic is what is playing out in court this week and will continue to next week. So here is this daily text. This is something that is publicly available on their website, right? jw.org. The thing that they advertise constantly. Their main goal as an organization seems to be to direct people to jw.org. So surely the witnesses wouldn't have any issue with their publications being shown in court, right? Well, you'll see why they might have a problem. Is part of Jehovah's arrangement. It is in the best interests of everyone, including the wrongdoer. Any negative comments about the way a disciplinary matter was handled have likely been initiated by someone who did not mention details that would put the wrongdoer in a bad light. We simply do not have all the facts. It is wise, then, to trust that the elders who took judicial action made every effort to follow scriptural principles and to judge for Jehovah. By supporting the elders' decision to disfellowship your loved one, you may actually help him to return to Jehovah. Severing family association.
Normal family relations continue.
Severing family association. Severing family association with our adult son was extremely difficult, admits Elizabeth. But after he returned to Jehovah, he admitted that he deserved to be disfellowshipped. In time, he expressed appreciation for the lessons he learned.
Don't believe a word of it.
Appreciation for the lessons he learned.
Don't believe a word of it.
Oh, past Jake. You're editing. Good job. July 2023, Jake. Okay, so I wanted to show that because this is a huge issue. Their publications blatantly encourage people to shun their disfellowship family members, don't have contact with them, because the act of shunning them brings them back to Jehovah. And don't forget, that shunning, they deserve it. So that's what their crap says. And so, and yet, here's what they're still doing. This is from Vartland, a Norwegian newspaper, where all of this has been playing out in the press. And so it's hard to get full just English translations of this publication. Like when I go on the Vartland website, I can Google translate it into English, but most of their stuff is behind a paywall and I can't like register for it, I think, because I'm using like, you know, United States money or something. I don't know. But anyway, so this is what they are still arguing. This is from this week, Jehovah's Witness board member about cutting contact up to the individual family. Oh my God. Cares. Board member for Jehovah's Witnesses explained himself to the court on Thursday and Friday. Here he claimed that the religious community has no rules for contact with expelled family members, completely contrary to the state's claim. Now, the framing of this, I understand why, but it's not contrary to the state's claim. It's contrary to Watchtower's claims that they put in their own materials. It's contrary to what they say when they're not on the stand. Yes, so I have greatly failed already, significantly. This week has also been amazing for like Larchwood, who is mentioned here, and Miss Usato, who I might not have pronounced the name right, on avoidjw.org, have been doing, and Ron Pomo, who I believe is in the chat here, and we're going to look at his, he's got a full translation of one of the articles on his Twitter page. Larchwood was posting like live updates. I don't know how they were doing it, but they were posting live updates on Twitter and Reddit, you know, from the courtroom. So what we have, Larchwood's notes, we have Ms. Usatu's summaries based on the Norwegian press and stuff from the courtroom. So we're extremely indebted today to folks who have been just like on a minute by minute basis updating us on what's happening. It's really great. Just huge shout out. Lots of love in the chat. So let us get to let's get to avoidjw.org, I think. The reason why I wanted to show the disparity between Watchtower's publications and their previous claims in court that they simply do not shun anybody. You know, these issues have been pointed out to them before. Sorry, I got a little distracted here. Here's an amazing example of this. So their website is problematic, right? The Jehovah's Witness website is problematic. On, I believe, the first day of the trial, Watchtower's legal team tried to prevent the state from using any materials from the Watchtower during the court case. Oh my God. Sorry, I had a call pop up on the screen of my computer. So Watchtower's lawyers didn't want any materials from their website, from the publications, or videos to be shown in court. Why? Because it's devastating to their case. You see, if you go on their website and type in the word shun, the first result is frequently asked questions. Do Jehovah's Witnesses shun those who used to belong to their religion? And look at this. It says no. Those who were baptized as Jehovah's Witnesses but no longer preach to others, perhaps even drifting away from association with fellow believers, are not shunned. That's a weird way to answer a yes or no question. but it implies no, certainly. Well, if I click on the videos tab, loyally uphold Jehovah's judgments, shun unrepentant wrongdoers. And I believe that they played this video to the court, which means that Jehovah's Witnesses, I think, are pretty destined to lose. I don't think you can really watch this video and not see that they're lying. And we're not going to show it because it's one of the most triggering videos they've ever made. All right, so now if we can move to avoid JW. Let's see. Wow. I'm seeing allegations that Ron Pomo is a hack from Ron Pomo. That's interesting. Calling himself out. Sorry, I got distracted by chat. Let's look at this. So this is the full list of everything that happened, days 1 through 5. There was some testimony from ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that happens. Was it Friday? But let's get into this. So this is the antagonist, Anders Reisdahl, Jehovah's Witness lawyer, and bad guy from the Crank series of action films. He just kind of looks like a generic villain, like in a Jason Statham movie or something. I guess he kind of just looks like evil Jason Statham. So, Reisdahl starts the trial by expressing the Jehovah's Witnesses' historic vulnerability and the troubles of global persecution they have endured, specifically by democratic societies, including countries which otherwise hold religious freedom in high esteem. What is this nonsense? Specifically by democratic societies? There is also, like, a little bit of this is going to be lost in translation. Hitman. That is exactly right. He does look like the guy from Hitman. A Sith Lord. We don't shun. We just refuse to answer phone calls from them and pretend they're dead. It's loving. Yeah, exactly. We don't shun them. We just do. And they deserve it because they signed up for it. Even if they're little babies. Which, by the way, great picture of clearly a little kid getting baptized. Okay. So he claims that they're so persecuted, and maybe I should be clear right up top. The XJW Live mentioned this, and I thought it was really important that, most ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, there are people of all stars and stripes in every community. Weird. But my goal, and most ex-Jehovah's Witnesses' goal, is not like to destroy Watchtower or take them down. My goal is to make the lives better of people that are Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want my parents to be in a situation where they have to worry about this kind of stuff. I don't, when it comes to the blood issue, I would love for that to become something that the group changes. But historically, whenever Watchtower is challenged on something, they just dig in their heels and insist upon their right to do it. And what little strides have been made in their child sexual abuse reporting policies have happened because they've been forced to do so, because they have faced legal consequences. So generally speaking, when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses, the only way to get them to change their harmful practices is to hit them in their wallets. And, witnesses are the ones who sued the Norwegian government. They're the ones who made a big court issue out of this. If they would have just acted more like the Mormons, well, they'd be much better off generally if they acted more like the Mormons. They'd have more money. But, they wouldn't be undergoing this huge media storm where they're being revealed for a bunch of liars. So Reisdahl, this is the Watchtower lawyer, claims that the organization's exclusion practice was well known to those who allowed themselves to be baptized, expressing specifically about minors being baptized, and could not see how it would be an obstacle to receiving state support since they are not violating children's rights. Well, a couple things about this. Watchtower does not believe that children have rights. They have described them as little enemies of God. They have nothing but bad things to say about children, even as they do call them gifts from Jehovah. And your job becomes it becomes an assignment. There's videos where they talk about Jehovah's Witnesses, their greatest assignment from God is raising their children in the truth, as they would say. If a Jehovah's Witness parent raises their child, and that child does not progress to baptism and does not become a good witness, that reflects poorly on the parent. Watchtower likes to have it both ways. They like to say, oh, well, you can't make your kid get baptized. But culturally, it's absolutely viewed as a failure on the part of the parents if they don't have their kid get baptized, because that is their assignment from God. So there's an extreme amount of pressure. What he says here, I wanted to just say one thing. In almost all of the notes that we're going to look at and the translations of articles, the translation seems to be exclusion practice. And I think anytime they say exclusion, they mean disfellowshipping or shunning. But that's the word that I'm seeing a lot is exclusion. Exactly. They get mad when people speak out, but they're the ones shunning me. If I had open dialogue with my parents, I probably wouldn't feel the need to do stuff like this. But I don't have that because they break up families, because my parents are mandated to shun me. This is what's so frustrating. Remember when I said earlier, there's going to be lots of rambling and tangents? It's what's so frustrating. They say, we don't force anybody. Everybody has personal rights to do what they want. So why are we here then? How does this misunderstanding keep happening? Well, it's not a misunderstanding. If you read the plain text of what they say, it clearly says that shunning is from God. You have to do it. It can block God's Holy Spirit. If you don't do it, you as a parent getting in the way of the disfellowshipping arrangement is impeding upon Jehovah's discipline. And to this point of the exclusion practice being well known to those who allow themselves to be baptized, including children, that is simply not true. It's disgusting that they would say this. You do not have informed consent, because Jehovah's Witness children are kept in a hermetically sealed bubble environmentally. You are not allowed to have close friends with people in your school because they are bad association. You're not allowed to go to their birthday parties or Christmas parties. Your real friends are those in the congregation. And in fact, they take pains to point out that, like, if you are a young person in a congregation and there's not kids your age in the congregation, that's not an excuse for you to be friends with kids in school. You should just make friends with older people in the congregation. This causes problems, as other court cases show. Anyway, sorry. Jan, there's the fact that the exclusion practice does not have a lower age limit that violates children's rights. Article 19 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child states that state parties must protect children from all forms of violence, abuse, and neglect. This includes physical, mental, and sexual violence, as well as non-intentional harm like neglect. Article 19 also requires states to have laws in place to prohibit violence and to implement administrative, social, and educational measures to protect children. This is really important here. I really like that. Like, this is abuse. It is not physical necessarily, although certainly, there are people who undergo physical abuse. This is mental abuse. Growing up with this threat of, if I mess up, I could lose my family. If I mess up, I will be cast out into Satan's world, and Armageddon is coming soon. And I could be destroyed in Armageddon if I am not a part of the one true religion. That is psychological mental abuse. I know that, and I would say the same thing about religions that preach hell to children. I think that is abuse. I think it is just absolutely inappropriate to fill kids' heads with these threats of, you're going to be killed or destroyed or tortured if you don't do everything we say. Larchwood, hey, the MVP, one of the MVPs of the week here in chat, they said in court in Norway They do shun, but this doesn't mean family relations are broken. Well, this is what, this thing really spirals out of control. Like reading the testimony from later in the week, it's absolutely nuts how, and boy, I wish you could have heard that great introduction I wrote. I promise it really existed. They are simultaneously arguing, we do not shun people. And when we do, they deserve it. And it doesn't break up family relationships. And if it does, it's their choice. But it's all their choice. It just so happens that all Jehovah's Witnesses seem to magically make the same choice somehow. I don't know how that ends up happening. Ugh, it's so contradictory. They want to. It's the like, what's that narcissist prayer meme that's like, that didn't happen, and if it did, it probably wasn't a big deal, and if it was a big deal, you just don't understand it. Like they just want to constantly be on every side of this argument. The issue is that Jehovah's Witnesses think that they are the one true religion chosen by God and that they alone are going to inherit the earth. One thing that I'm always very interested to see get brought up in court, that I don't really know how you would bring it up, but like, that court that witnesses are in, they think that thing is going to be destroyed in Armageddon. The legal systems of Satan's world, they're part of Satan's world. So in Jehovah's Witnesses' ultimate fantasy, the Norwegian government is destroyed because it, like all governments, is fake and from Satan and isn't even real because God's government's going to rule everything. That's true. I mean, I think that I would more relate hell to Armageddon in case I wasn't clear on that. It's definitely different from shunning. Shunning is what, gets them qualified as a cult, as opposed to just, I don't know, mainstream Christian religions who teach hell, which I think are just slightly less shitty and abusive, but I still think it's bad. I do apologize. There's really good conversations happening in chat, and there's a lot of people watching, but I probably should stay focused and get through this. This is also really critical. It is also a fundamental right for children to be able to change their outlook on life and their opinions as they acquire knowledge and experiences. But in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, a baptism of a 14-year-old is a lifelong commitment that the child will never be able to walk away from without major consequences for close relationships and family. Yes, it has been portrayed by Rysdal, that the Jehovah's Witness organization believes the practice of exclusion does not make some minors feel that they must stay in the religious community, or that any obstacles are placed for free expression. The evidence of this not being true would be found in their publications. Right. So this is where, evidence. Rysdal says that he does not want the organization's material, Watchtower Awake, Elders Manual videos, etc., to be used in the trial, as the judge questioned him on why they would not do so to eliminate understanding. Rysdal replied that it was due to their interpretations. He continued that disfellowship members can still come to meetings and participate in activities that take place. What activity? Singing. We know what he means. He means singing. This is what all witnesses could say. Is they're like, they can come to our meetings. They can sing the songs. The rest, that's it. Nobody's allowed to talk to you except for the elders, presumably. And I don't know, disfellowship people who've been to meetings. Are a bunch of elders talking to you, or is normally one elder kind of assigned to be the good cop who comes and talks to you and is like, hey, if you want to come back to Jehovah, we can set up a shepherding call. No, you are forced to sit awkwardly, silently. People kind of aren't really supposed to look at you. It's just culturally, you're treated like some ghost walked into the hall. Ugh. Good point. Yes, they may use the facilities. That is absolutely true. And okay, so this is what I asked Kim about last night, was what the lawyers were saying. This was in Larchwood's notes that she was posting. They kept using a term like, no, these are religious texts, and the court cannot interpret these religious texts. So they tried to assert that the Shepherd, the Flock of God book, which is the Elder's Manual, and if you've ever seen the Shepherd book, we've gone over it in previous videos, it's just a rule book. Are there scriptures cited in there? Yeah, sometimes, but most of it is just, here is the policy. It's an internal policy manual. It's obviously not a spiritual document in the way that I don't know, like the Watchtower is. It's policies and procedures. But Watchtower was trying to claim that, like, no, if any attempt on the state's part to present this evidence would mean that they are interpreting a religious text, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of them admitting that they view the Watchtower and Awake and all of their videos as equal to the Bible, because usually I would think that a court would not be allowed to use the Bible to argue against a religion who's being abusive, right? They would have to look at their policy documents. But Watchtower is saying, no, our policy documents are from God. They're religious and you can't interpret them. Well, that didn't fly, obviously. So let's hear from Jan. Jehovah's Witnesses have a practice where you cannot change your outlook on life, change your religion, and move to another organization without major consequences for the lives of the individuals. I've experienced this myself. It took me about 5 years from the time I last participated in the Jehovah's Witness community until I was finally expelled. During these years, I generated state support for the denomination I did not belong to, because the price you pay when you leave is too great. There are many people like me. Yes. Now, Watchtower's rebuttal to this is always, but sometimes people break the rules and don't shun their kids. Like, they'll have people who clearly, okay, so they'll have people who were shunned and have, but are still indoctrinated witnesses and are like, yes, I did deserve it. I am glad that I was shunned by my family. I am now loved again by Jehovah. Or they just have people who, like, didn't follow the rules and kept contact with their kids, which, like, okay, what do the rules say? Well, don't look at those. That might make us look bad. So going back to Rysdal trying to play both sides of the fence on this, Rysdal claims that family ties are not broken and that families still have a responsibility to take care of each other. When they say this, as far as I'm concerned, clearly all they mean is that people are still genetically related, right? Like, what else could they possibly mean by family ties are unbroken? My mom and my dad and my sister, my big Jehovah's Witness family, I have not heard from them. I have not had a conversation with them in years. I have not heard from my sister in well over 2 years at this point. I have a nephew that is now, he might be going to, like, kindergarten starting soon. I haven't seen him. I'm not going to recognize him next time. And she will not, she won't respond to me. I text her every once in a while just to let her know I love her and I'm here. She does not respond. She will not respond. For the most part, my mom and dad don't respond unless it's like, an actual emergency. So yes, is there no contact, zero whatsoever? No, but I would say that my mom, like, forwarding me emails about student loans is not the same. It's not the same relationship we had before. I would say that the family ties were broken. Any psychological problems, Rysdal is saying, any psychological problems among members are not due to such conditions as the state accused Jehovah's Witnesses, that any interpretation must be up to the religious community itself. Wow. So if people have psychological problems as a result of our practices, no, they don't. That's just in their head. Let's just gaslight the victims that are currently in the courtroom. Now, Jan clarified, you are not free to opt out if opting out has major consequences for completely elementary contact with your immediate family. Chad, based Sigma male behavior from Jan for Nielsen. Their parents or siblings or children, then for the vast majority, it is a forced situation. Yeah. And, like, we should say, too, like some kids who don't get baptized are able to just still have relationships with their family because they're like, their family is like, okay, well, my kid's not baptized. I can justify that in my head as having a relationship with them. It's fine. But not all witness parents are like this. A lot of witness parents are like, well, I raised them to know the truth. They know the truth and they have rejected it. So I'm going to treat them as if they were baptized. And that is very common. That happens to a lot of people. And their stories don't get to be told as often because witness like higher ups will be like, well, they were never a member. That person was never a member because they were never baptized. Oh God. Sorry. I'm like purely rambling. Let's go through a little bit more of this and then we'll take a quick chat break. To me, going through this Watchtower lawyer's claims, this guy is like evil, right? It's evil to do this. It's fucking evil to lie to a court to protect a religion's right to abuse people. And if you don't think that shunning is abuse, then I don't think you know what you're talking about. I don't think you've ever gone through it. This is not the same as like ghosting a stalker after a bad date. It's not the same as just being like, oh, this friendship is toxic. We're not gonna be friends anymore. Or like, my parents an alcoholic, and until they get their life together, I need to adjust my contact. Those would be personal choices to make. People should have liberty to decide who they want to be friends with, who they have regular contact with. But that is different. It is not a choice for Jehovah's Witnesses. It is mandatory policy, which is exactly why Rystall does not want their policy documents being read in court. He doesn't even want their material they publish for normie Jehovah's Witnesses read, because every witness knows that this guy is lying. Okay. Rystall sets up the narrative for the upcoming days, where they will hear from the testimonies of former witnesses. He said that these may be isolated, boring incidents that do not meet an elementary requirement for representatives, and may have a decisive effect on the proceedings without systemic investigations having been initiated. What a bunch of bullshit. He's attempting to discredit the former Jehovah's Witness stories as unreliable or singular, unnoteworthy incidents rather than years of their lives. Yeah. Fuck this guy. This guy sucks. What an asshole. I haven't heard their testimony, but I'm going to assume it's boring and unimportant, and it's going to ruin everything. And by the way, absolutely systematic investigations have been initiated. They've been going on for years. Watchtower has presented their side of the case over and over. The thing with Watchtower is they won't budge. They only have one side of the case. They only have the argument that, yeah, they say, no, we don't do this. And when we do, it's fine, and you should not be able to punish us or hold us to account in any way for all the shit we do. Fuck, I hate this. Wait, that's not the one I wanted to read. Let's check in with chat here. How are we all doing? Because this is infuriating. We need to take regular mental health breaks. I learned this from another streamer I like. Sometimes you gotta just stop and take a mental health break and hang out. So I'll put timestamps in chats here for when I take a break here. All right. What's the discourse? Ooh, a physical copy. That would be great. Somebody send me a physical Shepherd book. Hey, by the way, for Larchwood or anybody, or Ron, or anybody who is kind of covering this stuff, I noticed there was some like mention that I didn't quite understand because of like, some stuff is like lost in translation. It seemed like at one point Rystall was arguing that they don't have the Shepherd book, and like they have some new publication, but like he wouldn't say what it was. It seems to me like he was alleging that maybe like there's a newer version of the Shepherd book and the state was using an old one, and he wanted to claim like, no, you can't use that. That's last year's Shepherd book, which means it's totally different. I don't know. I don't know if that's what was happening or not, but if anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me know. Okay. Last time I checked in, I think was they can pee and poop in the bathroom. Okay, good point. First of all, yes, psych issues are in your head. But I think that's kind of, I just hate that he's like, hey, anybody who suffers psychological trauma as a result of being of our religion, no, that's just something that's their fault. Why are you making me shun you? That's exactly, good job. You don't know this on your end, but I put a little star on your comment so I can refer back to it later, because that is what it is. Like, my parents, they view themselves as victims. How could I do this to them? How could I do this to the family? Don't they know how many generations of my family have made the truth their own, have dedicated their life to the organization? So the really upsetting thing, and the thing that really annoys Jehovah's Witnesses, is that they think that anybody who leaves the religion intentionally and then speaks out against it is an agent of Satan. I think that this, it needs to be brought up in court. It needs to be brought up in some of these hearings. Like Stephen Let's talk about the evil ventriloquist Satan and how he uses people as his puppets. Like anybody. Oh, actually, you know what? I think Rolf Ferrulli does bring this up. So sorry, I think he brings this up in his testimony. But yeah, a thing that complicates this is that witnesses view themselves as the victims. So like me just having a YouTube channel where I talk about my feelings about the organization and where I just like react to shit that they put out in public, that is, my parents view this as persecution. The existence of anybody disagreeing with them is persecution. So it's like most people on the internet, in a way, they really are a 21st century religion now. Yeah. I remember elders being praised for cleaning house when kicking their disfellowship kids out. Holy shit. Yeah. I remember hearing that phrase. One of our sister congregations. So I was in a congregation. If you've not been a witness, there's a Kingdom Hall. That's the building. And then they've been consolidating because there's been some decline in the numbers, and they want to sell properties to make money off of them. So they kind of will have different congregations, different groups meet in the same Kingdom Hall. So like there might be a 10 o'clock meeting for the North congregation and a 12 p.m. meeting for the South congregation in the same Kingdom Hall, right? Well, I was in the good Kingdom Hall. I was in the good congregation, and my and all the young people were in the bad congregation. And it was kind of a running joke that I had for a while with my friends and family that the waters I was baptized in were like tainted somehow, because everybody else that I got baptized with who was my age was disfellowshipped. And then the elder who baptized me was disfellowshipped, along with half of the elder body in that congregation. And I remember that was what was said at the time by my dad, who was an elder. Like, oh yeah, the circuit overseer came in, he cleaned house, he shunned so many people. What an alpha. Cool. We love it. Hey, where's the thank you, Incognito, for the super chat. When Jesus said Holy Spirit will teach you in that very hour these things you should say in court, he meant lie your ass off. Yeah, apparently that's what Jesus is telling him to do. Witnesses love talking about these, like, oh, Paul in front of the Sanhedrin and Jesus in front of Pontius Pilate. I don't remember Jesus lying before the court, by the way. Yeah, that's true. That's another really good point. Like it was just practice to kick kids out of home. I mean, if you want examples of that, the Shunned podcast, they have a YouTube channel as well. Michael Shemwell's podcast, really great, but tough listens. If you need like a good cry, so many examples of people who are kicked out of their homes as teenagers. I mean, I know we have people in chat who that happened to. Oh no, I was told by the boy who abused me he wasn't a witness when he abused me, so it was okay. Oh my God. Silly Jake, it's obviously the invisible boogeyman, Satan, making the governments and courts misconstrued and misinterpret their doctrinal shunning practices to make them look bad. Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you watch, which I've played way too many clips of over the years, of David Splain's infamous apostate talk, he does the same thing. Shit, I lost my comment. I lost my brain comment. Now it's gone. It's gone instead. Oh yeah. So he says, well, juries, they're just lay people. They can just be anybody. courts and lawyers. It's all fixed. If there's a verdict that's negative to the organization, the explanation for that is that the trial was bullshit. That the jury was lacking in proper information, and if they would just take the time to check the facts, but they don't check the facts. The problem is that the facts would be like, well, let's see what Jehovah's Witnesses say in their publications. And every time they do that, they don't like it. Okay, let me get back to this. I just want to say, like, I don't know if anybody from the legal team is watching, just thank you. The Norwegian case is so good. They're doing such a great job. And like, you know, a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago, this, like, that 800-page document leaked. I think Jan leaked it to me. Well, he did not to me. He like posted it on Twitter. And I asked him questions about it. Watchtower prepared this 800-page manifesto, this research document where they accumulated their pseudo scholars who work for cult lobbies and think tanks. And so I made a video that was every lie Watchtower tells about shunning, and like anything that I could have possibly wanted to be brought up in this trial has been brought up. Like, that's how I feel. Like, everything that I would have wanted to be said seems like it's being said. And when does that ever happen? So it's very cool. The illustration where the son is leaving and they're crying on the stairs, they're thinking of themselves and not any problem or drama the son has. Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what picture you're talking about. I'll bet you every XJW knows exactly what you mean because it's burned in our brains. Simply having a wonderful Ramblin time. Yeah, okay, let's get back on track. It's true. Ooh, actually, this is really important. This person says they were shunned before they were disfellowshipped. Yeah, man. Like, if you just stop being publicly a good witness and you stop going to meetings for a while, you'll just be shunned anyway, because not only are Jehovah's Witnesses supposed to shun unrepentant wrongdoers, which can also just mean victims of sexual abuse who were blamed for their abuse and then disfellowshipped for sexual immorality. I'm sorry. My brain died. It happened again. I need to get back to the thing. Anyway, I think I was saying you don't necessarily have to be disfellowshipped to be shunned. I think that was the last point I was trying to make. I like this note by Mr. Sato. So if we jump to day 2, January 9th, ironically, in a congregation or religious activity such as giving talks, even handling microphones in this organization, a woman is not allowed to conduct without her head covered. And the defense team of Norway is all women, and they open the floodgates on a multitude of matters that need to be addressed. I really like this. There was a good picture. I don't know if it's in here or not. Just like seeing the state's legal defense, which is these strong women who clearly, got education. They got a higher education. That just it adds insult to injury for the witnesses. Women can't be lawyers. They can't tell men that they're wrong about things in the organization. So that's like an added layer of humiliation in this trial. It's just, it's nice. It's nice. Pairs nicely with irony, dramatic irony. It's stated in an article on Vartland that Arvik, so this is the government lawyer, Kristen Arvik, outlined in the organization's hierarchical structure with very little room for local interpretations, supporting the state's evidence strategy, which includes JW handbooks, magazines, and court texts. It's been evident that through Reistall, Watchtower lawyers have asked the judge for their publications not to be included in this trial, and that was not approved. Okay, so this is a good point that they brought up. Like, Watchtower wants to make it seem in court like local elder bodies are independent, when anybody who's a witness knows that's not the case, that they define themselves on their unity. They define themselves on, no matter where you go in a kingdom hall, you learn the same thing. And funny enough, I think a Watchtower witness says that later, or maybe one of their lawyers, which I found to be almost like an accidental like Columbo moment where he kind of damaged his case by saying like, well, wait a minute. Do you have religious freedom, or is everybody mandated to do the same thing? Okay. Some of the court's roles and expectations that were overviewed on this day. The legal starting point emphasizes no public registration is needed for a religious community. The organization's practice remains consistent. Recent legal developments prompt scrutiny. What they're saying here is like, this lawsuit is silly because Watchtower's rights are not being infringed upon. They're just not getting free. They're just not getting free money to send to the main branch office. That's it. None of their rights have been taken away. And the organization has refused to change any of their practices to adapt to these things. The European Court of Human Rights plays a role in interpreting conventions. This may very well go to the ECHR, by the way, focusing on how the Watchtower organization treats those who resign. Analyzing witnesses' response to questions, letters, and inquiries, their stance on exclusion, baptism, and maintaining family ties. So this is where things got really good. They showed this video. They showed that shun unrepentant wrongdoers video. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? I just want to know what Watchtower's lawyers were thinking when they're going up there and saying, we don't tell parents not to talk to their kids. We would never. How dare you? And then to watch this, it's a long video. I don't know if they just played this clip, but the video is just like, I tried to call my parents and thank God they refused to talk to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back to Jehovah. Like, it's just so... enduring through this sort of spiritual manipulation can have a ruinous effect and unleash a multitude of problems in one's life. And Avik did not let this important point waver. She contested the organization's practice and then the definition of shunning, which is defined as evading, steering clear of, dashing, eschewing, or keeping away from. Yeah, okay, well, I can see why they did that, because if you remember the clip we watched at the beginning, Watchtower's lawyer in that Canada case tried to define disfellowshipping using a completely fake definition that doesn't exist in any Watchtower literature. But he's like, no, it just means spiritual association. Obviously, outside the kingdom hall, everyone's best friends. Like, no. This is great. They emphasize the importance for human connection. Humans need some sort of social connection to help with growth, stability, and well-being. If you are quickly cut off and shunned after having a particular lifestyle, such as a Jehovah's Witness, it majorly affects your life. Shunning is not an act of love. This is pure manipulation. The practice shown in the video above is supposed to depict how one disfellowship would come to their senses as it was expressed in the child. Now, imagine this happening to a child. Oof, goddamn. They cooked. Norway... We're cooking. Watchtower argued yesterday that there's no violation of the right to leave the organization freely. But if the organization wants their interpretations of the publications to be removed, how can you expect to understand the influence and impact it does on their members? Yeah, so this was the back and forth that was happening. Loyalty to uphold Jehovah's judgments. Which one is this? Is that the same one? Yeah. Oh, okay. Holy shit. So they played the long version. So the shun unrepentant wrongdoers is like a shortened version of this. It's just like a segment of this. This is an almost 10-minute video of, it is brutal. Like, I cannot watch this video. So they played this full 10-minute video to the court, apparently. And that's pretty rough. That's tough to recover for Watchtower. They'll never financially recover from this. Okay. They go into the age of baptism. This is great. You can see all these pictures of kids getting baptized, including like clear. I think these are all in organizational material, right? Children as young as 6 years old have been baptized in the organization. And this is not similar to baptism in Catholicism, where you still have free will and independent thinking. Once you commit what they deem a sin, you are expelled and shunned from the organization. I like the way this is worded. And I think it's important to note that like the Shepherd book has stuff in it that witnesses don't know about. Like witnesses, rank and file witnesses, as we would say, don't have access to the elder's manual. So they don't know all the things that could get them in trouble. They don't know, for instance, that there are certain kinds of pornography that can get that can get a person disfellowshipped. Like for some reason, like vanilla straight sex is viewed as okay, but if you watch any same sex stuff for group stuff, like that's a disfellowshipping offense. Like God has a tier list in his head of what porn he hates the most. Not a cult, by the way. Everything is normal here. The organization was challenged on its claim that minors are baptized at a certain maturity level as they presented evidence of younger baptisms. Right. Due to this, it puts weight on the organization's claim that children have free will to decide to get baptized. Ooh. In the courtroom, the video of Caleb and Sophia, the steps to baptism, was played. Let's watch this. I don't know if I've seen this. Let's at least watch a little bit of it. Well, that's also, I mean, literally in the Shepherd book. It's not a disfellowshipping offense. God, ridiculous. So weird because, well, maybe that's why, like Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in the Trinity. So maybe like Catholics would be more cool with threesomes because they're like, in a way, God's just one big threesome. He just is the personification of a threesome. Jehovah's Witnesses are like, no. But you'd think they'd be more on board with masturbation since that's, that's a one-man show. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know why I said it. I'm sorry for saying it. I'm sorry for thinking it. This one's...
Wow, that looks like me.
It's immediately so
I
bad.
have a question.
What is it, my dear?
How do you get baptized?
That's a good question.
And an important one.
Mom looks so young in this picture.
This is not the point, right? This is not the point, but do you like these updated character models for Caleb and Sophia? I'm an old school Caleb and Sophia fan, obviously. I think that they're 3D models. Like they clearly got some new software that they're using and just had to remake them. I think that they look less distinct than they did before. I think the character designs are much more generic now. But I like this. Well, I don't like it, but I like it as evidence against the Watchtower. Like, obviously, Sophia is a little kid, and she's looking at a picture of her mom. Like, wow, mom was so little in this. How was she mature enough to get baptized?
Mom looks so young in this picture.
Hey!
Yes.
Why is that?
You can be young, like your mother. What matters is that you love Jehovah and want to follow Jesus' teachings closely.
You can show that you want to get baptized by what you do.
Do manual
Like
labor.
obeying your parents.
Learn about
Like obeying your parents, who are Jehovah's Witnesses, and are going to make you do Jehovah's Witness stuff. You see how maybe they're not getting free will. And what I think is really good about showing this video is that pretty sure disfellowshipping doesn't come up in this. The child, the prospective baptismal candidate, Sophia, is not given the information about, well, here's what can get you disfellowshipped. If you get disfellowshipped, we might kick you out of the house. No, it's just painted as a cute, lovely, amazing cartoon scenario about how much you love God. And of course, if you're a little kid who's been raised in this cult where you're not allowed outside information, not allowed outside friends, your media diet is highly restricted in a lot of cases, like you don't know. You're not allowed to know the consequences.
Jehovah by reading the Bible. That will help you obey Jehovah.
That's right.
And avoid things that Jehovah hates.
Shout out to Danny in the comments.
Then you'll want to share your faith with others.
Especially in the ministry.
And at the meetings. Make friends with others who love Jehovah.
Got him. Make friends with others who love Jehovah.
And most
At the exclusion
importantly,
of any other friendship.
tell Jehovah in prayer that you want to serve him forever.
That's why we get baptized in public.
Oy.
It shows others that we've dedicated our lives to Jehovah.
That's so cool.
Would you like to get baptized
That's
one day?
so cool.
Why don't you learn a little more about the steps for baptism and share it with us at Family Worship?
Okay.
And then Sophia went into her bedroom and was like, okay, I'm going to Google JW facts so I can learn more about baptism. No. Anyway, yikes. It's pretty bad. I mean, I think that's a good video to play. Can we just remember to, you know, Watchtower's throwing a fit about the court showing this stuff. They have literature cards that are designed to just advertise how amazing Caleb and Sophia is. They want people to see this stuff in a very specific context. Ugh. What I don't totally this is a comment maybe just for speculation. Would you expect to see like a change maybe in how some of this stuff is worded going forward? I think that they were trying to I think they were trying to cover their asses a little bit by saying, well, why don't you do some more research about baptism? And then we'll talk about it more at Family Worship, so that Watchtower in court can say, well, see, it's not like we just dumped her right in the baptism pool. She had to do more research. But yeah, all you have to do is be like, did that research include knowing that she could be cut off from the rest of her family if she decides to join another religion? Blah, boo, hate it. I guess the character Sophia is around 12 to 13. Caleb's around 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, is I never define their ages. So what if they're like, no, Sophia's 25. She's totally able to get baptized. Yeah, exactly. It's not painted like, yes, my parents said, oh, it's very serious to dedicate your life to Jehovah, but all of my family and friends were witnesses. So there was no reason to think that it would be a bad thing. And thank you, Maria. This is important. What does she learn from her research? Oh, brother. All of this goes to what I'm saying, which is like, they've got to make a different website for the public than they have for their cultiest stuff. I think, here's my prediction. I forgot to do my 2024 predictions. Here's my very specific prediction founded in zero evidence and only vibes. I think that they will have most of their, I think that they will make jw.org simplified to just the stuff that they feel comfortable showing in the ministry, and Watchtower Online Library will have all of the rest of the stuff that would be played at a meeting, as opposed to shown to a prospective witness, shown to a Bible study. They did used to, and I think that they just, even when they made the change, they just weren't expecting to make advertising jw.org, or rather they weren't expecting to just put all of their spiritual stuff on jw.org. Like, because remember how they used to just have a website for JW broadcasting for all those videos, and they consolidated it. Now there's still like a Roku app, but obviously you kind of like would have to know about it to get it. Yes, how like they had a Watchtower for the public and one for the meeting. I think that to avoid stuff like this, and I'm not trying to give them any ideas. I've been speculating they're going to do something like this for a while. Yeah, like give the public one website with like a video about Caleb picking up his toys, and then on Watchtower Online Library you have the culty stuff. That's my speculation. I guess I don't know if that really helps them. Maybe they're like, fuck it, people are gonna find this stuff anyway. What's the point? All right, let's look at some of this other stuff here. First day of Jehovah's Witness testimonies. So Wednesday was when we actually heard from, I think, like actual like witnesses, not ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's see. On day 3, Wednesday, January 20th. 20th? Damn it. Start over. January 10th, 2024. The state expressed that they believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses' strict exclusion practice is a violation of the members' organized practices and a violation of children's rights, as defined in the Religious Communities Act and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. I really like advocating for children's rights as a thing in general. I think Norway seems cool. I wish our country was more like Norway. The idea that you can just argue that children should have rights at all goes so contrary to so many like evangelical belief systems. In the Oslo District Court of Jehovah's Witnesses versus Norway, the courtroom was packed full of Jehovah's Witnesses to testify. There they sat to defend their experience and views on the matter of minors being baptized, along with the effects of being shunned. Most of the witnesses testifying were parents, some previously disfellowshipped and reinstated before, now devoted to the organization, and expressed that the state's claims are unfair and hurtful. There were 8 families there to testify. Unfair and hurtful because they don't like that other people had a different experience than them. Like, let's think about this here. Okay, you're a Jehovah's Witness who was disfellowshipped, but you're like, oh my God, I have fallen from grace of the true God Jehovah, I must come back. And you go back. Okay, who gives a shit if somebody else makes a different decision and says, wow, I was disfellowshipped and I hate it? Well, the difference is people who are disfellowshipped and come back accept with an A, the victim blaming. They have accepted the gaslighting as I view it. They're like, yes, this was my fault. I did deserve it. I was misled by Satan. And the only thing that did make me happy was the organization. So it upsets them to see witnesses leave and advocate against the shunning practices, because the reinstated person has accepted this lie and internalized everything. Like, no, that discredits my experience, which means they must be wrong and from Satan. Anyway, so what am I looking at here? The court was interested in hearing the family's situations regarding the baptism of minors and the practice of shunning. It is said in a Vartland article linked below that Jehovah's Witnesses were very keen to point out that children are not coerced to be baptized at a young age. Well, I think that video we watched says everything we need to know, doesn't it? Sometimes in this, it's a little hard for me to figure out where like the editorializing begins and when summations at the court begin. I think that this is Avoid JW saying like, I'd like to bring up the questions in the organized book. Let's see. So this is the organized book that they're pointing out, right? This is the book that has the baptism questions. So this is when you want to get baptized, they give you this book. And this is what it says. So this is interesting. If a person commits a serious sin and wants to be restored to Jehovah's favor, what should he immediately do? I confess my sin to you. It just has some scriptures, right? If you know that a fellow Christian has committed a serious sin, what should you do? Rat on him. Be a rat. Be a narc. If an announcement is made that someone is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses, how should we treat him? Stop keeping company with anyone called a brother. Blah, blah, blah. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your homes or say a greeting to him. I won't give you my whole spiel on 2 John 10. I've done that before. All right, what did the witnesses say? Solvig Torp Dahl expressed her experience. Dahl, a Jehovah's Witness, had been wanting to get baptized at age 11, but her parents had her wait till 15. Wow. When you put it like that, it's not a cult, and that's not too young to make a lifelong commitment to a doomsday cult. She emphasized that, like every witness, the child must go through the same extensive process as everyone else before baptism. I think the thing with this is like, yeah, it is an extensive process, but it's also still not giving you all the information. Like, in my opinion, the extent of the process is just for moments like this so that they can later hold it against you and say, you knew all this when we baptized you. What's wrong with you? In my opinion. By the way, we've like consistently had over 300 people watching. That is pretty nifty. Thanks everybody for joining. Sorry that I have been disjointed. I apologize, and yet it's how my brain is, and I can't change it. So wow, she had to wait until she was 15, which is basically an old person when you think about it. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, when the court had asked Dahl what would be her reaction if her children decided not to get baptized, she expressed, as a parent, you want the best for your children. But even if it is difficult and hurts, it is respected that everyone has to make their choice. The Bible teaches us that people have free will and that Jehovah respects that people make their own choices. When he does that, we also have to respect that. It should be fucking illegal for them to say this. I hate that they say this. All that they're saying, like, okay, let me get my thoughts together. They say they respect that everyone has to make their choices. They don't mean that. It's like the joke in Talladega Nights where Ricky Bobby just insults people by saying with all due respect beforehand. It's like, okay, you can't just say it with all due respect and then say something disrespectful. It's not respectful. They just have a mantra that they respect people of different religions. But demonstrably, they do not. They think that everyone else is being manipulated by Satan and will be killed, will be destroyed by God. Maybe some of them will be saved. Maybe some of them will be resurrected and given another shot when the real people are in charge, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the court of Oslo is destroyed and the fireballs from heaven. You know, it's like they do not respect people's choices. My parents do not respect my choice to not be a witness. They have punished me for that choice by refusing to be my parents anymore. Sometimes, like I had to ask my dad for some financial help a few months ago, and he said, "Well, you know, I'm your dad, so I love you. So so obviously I love you, and so obviously I'll help. But you know, you're disfellowshipped, so there's only so much we can do, right?" So he said the line, say the line, Bart. He said, "We love you," but like on a day-to-day basis, this is a guy that has no idea what either me or my wife have gone through for the past like 3 years. He doesn't know because he doesn't want to be in my life anymore. This is the huge disparity between saying we respect people's beliefs and we acknowledge that other people have different beliefs and we hate it and we think that they're going to die at Armageddon for having those different beliefs. Liars. Imagine being a Jehovah's Witness and lying in court. Shameful. The one fucking thing witnesses pride themselves on is being honest. And then you go and stand on the witness stand and lie to demonize people who had a worse experience than you did. These people suck. Throughout the day, other witnesses told similar stories. Oh, you know what? I take it back. I want to get more of this person's comments. Dahl was asked to go into her experience in disfellowshipping when she was in her 20s. She explained the shunning in a way that was more or less self-chosen, in that if she had acted better to the choice of disfellowshipping, things could have been different. The elders went to great lengths to convince me to stay, but I had made up my mind. When they realized that, they respected it, but it made it clear that there would always be a way back. Yeah, so the expressions are very similar to loyalty to uphold Jehovah's judgments in the video that was played the previous day in court. Ooh, I love that. Saying that God and the congregation were ready to forgive if they were to come back and to be reinstated, but that they were not ready to forgive themselves for the sins they had committed. They were not ready to forgive themselves for the sins they have committed. The witnesses were also asked whether the longing for family and social network was decisive for their return to the congregation. Although several admitted that this had been a mistake, they believed that it had not been decisive. I don't know what this means. Getting forgiveness and restoring the relationship with Jehovah was more important. Oh, I see. I think what this is saying is that the witnesses, which is confusing, the Jehovah's Witnesses who took the witness stand, they were saying that no, I was not pressured by a desire to see my family again. I was desired because I just love Jehovah so much. Yeah. The state's lawyers then asked Dahl if she could explain to the court what lies in the religious community's exclusion practice. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to figure out what this means. Well, let's read her comments. Dahl pointed out 3 reasons. We call ourselves Jehovah's people, and in that lies an obligation. Our behavior can either bring glory or dishonor to him. There is also an arrangement that protects the congregation. If you overlook sin, you can encourage a lax attitude. She drew comparisons to why the police crack down on drunk driving and speeding offenses. Yeah, totally the same thing. You know how if you get pulled over for drunk driving, your family never talks to you ever again, and they're not allowed to because they say that it'll make God mad? There is an arrangement that protects ourselves and may help someone who has taken the wrong course to return to Jehovah. Interesting. It seems to me like if this is really what was said, it probably didn't help the witness's case. What I'm getting from this that was, I think, very fortuitous for the government was that they played the Loyalty Uphold Jehovah's Judgments video the day before this testimony, which is going to help people realize that the witnesses on the stand are just echoing the material from the publications. So that's interesting. Oh no, we're losing people. We're losing them. Sorry, no. The streams go long. If you can't sit here for 3 straight hours and watch every minute, shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the second day of Jehovah's Witness testimonies. So this was January 11th. The lawsuit's origin lies in a sequence of determinations made by the Ministry of Children and Family Affairs and the state administrator. These decisions culminated in the denial of state subsidies. Yeah, okay, we know that. Both parties are given a 48-hour window to present their witnesses. Yesterday, a few Jehovah's Witnesses took the stand, expressing positive involvement with the organization. Today, it is Jehovah's Witnesses' turn once again. By the way, I know I was just like freaking out and, complaining, but obviously, like, I respect Jehovah's Witnesses have an absolute right to present their positive experiences. But I think it's just revealing that people don't really have the ability to express what their personal experience is, often until after they leave. Like, if they wouldn't have let people on the stand if they didn't say exactly what Watchtower wanted them to say. Like, somebody who got up there and had complicated feelings about the disfellowshipping arrangement, well, that wouldn't be allowed. And probably a witness wouldn't even feel comfortable expressing that. I would argue that probably most witnesses, if you get a couple drinks in them, they'll tell you, like, yeah, I don't know, disfellowship is kind of messed up, but we got to do it. It's what Jehovah says. But you're not really allowed to access that part of your brain when you're a witness. You have to repeat these same talking points to yourself over and over to believe it. So anyway, Godspeed to Roald Dahl. If she ever wakes up, that will be interesting. So there were more Jehovah's Witnesses that testified. Let's see. During the proceedings, the judge inquired about the involvement of Watchtower JW literature, prompting the JW witnesses to acknowledge that certain elements are indeed presented in their publications. However, they emphasized that their teachings are primarily based on the Bible. Oh, that makes it fine. Additionally, an expert witness took the stand and read from documents, although their testimony appeared to be somewhat perplexing. Oh man, I wish I knew more about this. On the stand, each JW witness repeated the claim that their practices are strictly guided by just the Bible, not their literature. It was referred to them, oddly speaking out, as if they were reading bullet points. Yeah. Well, of course they were. They weren't allowed to say their opinions because you're not allowed to have opinions as a Jehovah's Witness. This is just so strange that they even think that they could possibly make this argument. Like, every Christian religion thinks that their belief is based on the Bible and would say so in court. This is not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, but they just really want it to be true, so they just say it over and over again. But if it was true, you wouldn't need the Watchtower, and you wouldn't need the fucking organized book. You wouldn't need any of this stuff. They would just send the elders a list of scriptures, and every month, like, there would not be a meeting workbook with videos to watch with specific interpretations of what these prophecies mean. It would just be, here's the Bible reading. What do you think about it? Hey, all our beliefs are based on the Bible, so we don't need anything to interpret the Bible for us. They just, like, they don't want to acknowledge that they have an interpretation of the Bible. Of course they do. But, like, for their grift to work to their members, they have to say, no, we're not interpreting the Bible. This is what the Bible says. We're just, like, reporting it. The Watchtower is like a documentary about what the Bible says. And that goes all the way back to Charles Taze Russell, who said, you don't even need to read the Bible if you read studies in the scriptures. In fact, you'd get more out of reading studies in the scriptures than reading the Bible. Thank you for the super chat. Well, and thank you. I do my best to expose the truth about the truth. But I think what we're finding is that the best way to expose it is just by making them acknowledge what the shit they write in their publications literally say and what their videos are. And, you know, the people that really deserve the credit are the people who testified it and shared their experiences. So let's get to some of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Because their experiences are what really made this possible. And people like Jan-Fred Nielsen, who didn't just talk on the stand as a witness, but was behind getting these laws passed in the first place. Let's see. An expert on human rights. I kind of want to skip ahead to the ex-JW testimonies, because as we're seeing, all the JWs said the same thing, as we would expect. They all must speak in agreement. That's what was brought up in my judicial committee. We have to all agree on everything. Otherwise, it would just be chaos. What do you want? Some kind of democracy? At the age of 15, I think this is a Jehovah's Witness. This is interesting. When questioned about distinctions within the congregation, I don't know how to pronounce this, if it's Kari or Carrie, Care Bear, refutes such divisions, asserting that everyone is regarded as brothers and sisters, even though some may have busier schedules than others. The conversation also touches on familial responsibilities, highlighting the belief that neglecting one's children is considered more serious than being unfaithful. Well, no, it's not, because you're allowed to neglect them if they're fucking disfellowshipped. So, okay. Good job telling more lies on the stand. Before his testimonies, though, Kare, a senior member of Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, okay, that's what this person is. So Care Bear, so I'm going to call him, a senior member of Jehovah's Witnesses, wrapped up his testimony that began yesterday by going into various aspects of the community's social and religious practices. He highlighted 2 weekly meetings. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is what I want to talk about. Within the Kingdom Hall, for disfellowship persons, socializing is minimal, lacking gatherings like coffee. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the thing I wanted to read. Sorry. I'm fucking up. Sorry. What was I trying to find? I was trying to find, there's this part where he's talking about, one of these watchtowers is talking about the Kingdom Hall is purely religious. They don't have like meals there, coffee, like other churches of the world. I'm not sure if that was this, but he tries to talk about how having to go and sign a legal document at the courthouse makes their religion impossible to function or some bullshit. Ooh, let's look at the judge's hypothetical scenario. Sorry, I'm going to get better at live streaming starting next week. New Year's resolution, I'm going to do a better job. I was just struggling this morning trying to figure out how to present all this stuff because it's all text. I'm used to doing video stuff. I've gotten too comfortable this video rebuttal nonsense. I'm not used to reading text on screen for long periods of time and making it entertaining. I'll start juggling soon. Okay, so let's get into some of this cross-examination with Care Bear. When questioned by the judge about whether members can face sanctions for maintaining contact with excluded or resigned family members, Saderhog clarified that the congregation does not interfere in such matters. Uh-oh. Well, we looked at the Shepherd book earlier, and we know he's lying. He expressed the belief that dictating the level of contact someone should have within their family is not within the congregation's purview, as it pertains to individuals' relationships with God. Intriguing. The judge sought further clarification, asking if there are no sanctions for those with a more liberal attitude toward the excluded. Satterberg, not even close, it's not Berg at all, Care Bear, explained that the way contact is practiced afterward may vary, and sanctions would only be considered if someone fundamentally disagrees with the established arrangement. Well, that's closer to the truth. The Elders book, considered a religious text, was explored. I think they were exploring whether or not it was a religious text. Care Bear clarifies that it offers guidance rather than strict rules. Oh, this guy. Can you go to jail for lying in court? That it feels like it should be a crime that you can go on the stand and tell a judge that the Shepherd the Flock of God book is not about rules, but rather guidance. Oi. Yeah, no, I'm properly pissed off at this. Lay people, known as elders, consider various factors in decision-making, including individual conscience. The book also addresses social dynamics post-excommunication. Regarding the practice of shunning, Care Bear explained it as a biblical directive, emphasizing that individuals have personal choices in implementing this guidance and that there's no one-size-fits-all rule. They can't keep getting away with it. The Jesse Pinkman meme, like, he's saying like two different things at the same time. Like, we don't have strict rules, but if somebody disagreed with our strict rule, if somebody disagreed with the disfellowshipping arrangement, well, that could get them in trouble. And there's individual variance in terms of how much contact you can have with your disfellowship children or family members, but also there's not, because there's unity everywhere. We all have to follow the same rules. And every congregation in the whole world follows the same rules. But also, it's just from the Bible. We're literally just following the Bible. Well, if it's just from the Bible, why is there all this confusion? The judge then presented a hypothetical scenario. What if a mother continues to have the same contact with her child, even if the child joins another religious community? Care Bear responds that it ultimately depends on her conscience, emphasized that she would not risk being excluded unless she expressed fundamental disagreement with the established arrangement. Why do they do this to themselves? It's oh my God, he admitted. So if this hypothetical mom kept her mouth shut, kept it to herself, maybe she could get away with having contact with her child. But if she openly expressed that she disagreed with the established arrangement, which now they're establishing that there is an arrangement, well, if she disagreed with that, well, then she could get in trouble. It's nonsense, complete nonsense. When asked about the treatment of unbaptized members, he highlighted the importance of unique responses based on individual conscience and varying circumstances. Oh, it all sounds so complicated. The financial model of Jehovah's Witnesses, relying on voluntary contributions without a fixed budget, was detailed. The transparency extends to global humanitarian aid efforts. Again, bury him under the jail. They do not provide global humanitarian aid. They provide global inter-community aid. They provide aid for other Jehovah's Witnesses around the world. They do not provide humanitarian aid to people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, not as a matter of practice. Sometimes it seemingly happens on accident. Like maybe sometimes there's just like a nice guy who's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll help you too while we're here helping our own people. This stuff sucks. So Rolf Ferruli, a very complicated man. Let's take a little. No, it's true. It's true. Incognito says the more they lie in testimony, the better the legal outcome. It is true. I think it's so brazen. I think that's what's so shocking about it. It's just like they write this stuff down. I thought about like pulling up the JW Facts article, which I noticed like Paulo Grundy is kind of a legend. I don't know if he has people who help him update the site, but he updated it last year with more and more examples of like really recent stuff in their publications about shunning. And it's just, there's no way that you could read what Jehovah's Witnesses say in their publications and in their videos and think that disfellowshipping is in some way a conscience matter, that the level of contact is in some way a conscience. There's no way that you could honestly read their material and think, oh yeah, it's just like normal. There's no pressure to disfellowship. There's no pressure to shun. Thank you for bringing this up. Like incest and genocide are in the Bible, but humans have evolved past these disgusting expressions of power. If somebody came in who was accused of, murder because they stoned a prostitute to death, they couldn't say, oh, no, that was based on my belief in the Bible. It says it's okay to do that in Exodus. The Bible to Jehovah's Witnesses does not matter at all. What matters is the Watchtower's interpretations of them. Without that, if everyone was just literally reading the Bible, they wouldn't have a religion, because obviously people would come to different conclusions. You have religious leaders so that they can interpret the Bible for you. It's just so weird. So Rolf Ferruli is a very complicated man who I asked back when he wrote his book if he wanted to come on the channel, and I think he declined, which is understandable. He's a really interesting guy. He wrote a book called like My Beloved Religion and the Governing Body. He was a prominent circuit overseer, nay, district overseer in that area, and basically started to feel that the governing body had become too authoritarian and wrote a book about it and was disfellowshipped. This is a really weird guy. He's their one academic source for the 607 teaching, which of course is wrong. He's the only guy who thinks this. And now their one academic source is disfellowshipped, but they still uphold this date. So they're kind of in a weird position there. And he, of course, because he fancies himself an intellectual and dedicated a lot of his life into defending this spurious number, still holds on to the 607 thing. Somebody correct me if I'm getting that wrong, but it's been like, 2 years since this book came out. So it's been a while since I've read it, but it's a very interesting book. I think you can get it. Like, I think I just emailed him and he just sent me an English copy of it. He's a very cool guy. And, he's, I think, the kind of person that, if you haven't seen the newest Blue Envelope video, you could see him starting a spin-off religion, maybe, because he clearly believes in most of the doctrines, but just disagrees with a few things like the higher education stuff, the governing body, and like maybe disfellowshipping. It's a little unclear to me how he feels about it. But he's a good witness, I would think, to have for the government, because, the government's trying to prove that even well-intentioned people who simply want to not destroy the religion, not sin, not light dumpsters on fire outside the Kingdom Hall or something, they just want to not be Jehovah's Witnesses. They can be disfellowshipped, even if they were baptized as children. And this guy, who clearly loves Jehovah's Witnesses, was respected in the community and just vocalized disagreements, that guy is disfellowshipped. And I think that's especially powerful after this Care Bear motherfucker who's like, oh, well, we don't really force the issue of disfellowshipping, but if somebody expressed disagreement of it out loud with their voice, that, yes, they could get in trouble. So this is an important point they're making. You know, who is being persecuted here? Is this the same? Is the big government trying to suppress religion, or is this religion just suppressing basic free speech rights of its members and then complaining when anybody does anything about it? So Rolf expressed his deep love for being a Jehovah's Witness, stated that if given a chance to live his life again, he would make the same choices. Rolf, I think that's weird for you, but we all have to make our own decisions. However, he believes that many individuals who are now disfellowshipped should not have faced such consequences according to the Bible. Initially attempting to address concerns internally, he eventually wrote a book leading to his own disfellowshipping. Yeah. And, you know, like, I obviously am not a religious person, and not a fan of like organized religion in general, but I do have a respect for people's individual rights to believe what they want, as long as they are not causing harm to other people. So I just want to clarify that. You know, I'm always going to be flippant and sarcastic on my channel, but Rolf really seems like a good guy. I think it would be really interesting to talk to him. I would love to be able to just ask some follow-up questions about this stuff, because I have a fondness for, you know, obviously my family are witnesses, so I have a fondness for all the lovely witnesses who were a part of my life for the first almost 30 years of my life. I love the people. I loved being with them. There were things I liked about, but when I think of like all the individual things, it's hard for me to point to anything that I actually miss, other than it was nice being part of a community. It was nice being part of a community. And like, yeah, we as humans, we're tribal. We're communal creatures. No man is an island. So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Rolf is just an interesting guy. I thought his book was so intriguing. He brought up so many good points. And then the things he would stick to that were witness doctrines were very, I don't know. I would just like to ask him some questions, I guess. But importantly, he tried to address things internally before writing a book. And for any Watchtower reps who want to be like, oh, this guy's just trying to get famous and make a bunch of money writing a book, like, no, he self-published a book that he'll like happily give out for free. He's not exactly trying to get rich off the Watchtower. During his questioning by the state, he discussed other practices of shunning and confirmed that as a circuit overseer, he enforced procedures for congregations to follow. He emphasized the significance of the Shepherd the Flock of God book, considering it a rule book governing the behavior of congregations and elders. Now, I think this is really important. I just want to apologize right now, because I'm pretty sure I've said that every 5 seconds since I started the stream. I'm going to do better. I'm going to pray about that and really think about that. But it is important, because elder bodies are not autonomous. They used to be more autonomous than they are now, and that's what Rolf wants to go back to. He thinks that the 70s were kind of the heyday of the organization, because there was more autonomy for local elder bodies. And I think that there's a lot of old timers who have nostalgia for that, especially the more like independent regional building committees, were just like the congregation, they kept their own fund. They just functioned like any local church. And I think that is a very understandable place to want to go back to. Like, if it's just like, hey, this whole thing wouldn't be so bad if we didn't have the big brother breathing down our throats. I get that. But the circuit overseer role is really important. His role as a circuit overseer was to make sure that elders enforced the disfellowshipping practices properly. So it's not even like local elders have a conscience approach to disfellowshipping. Like, no, this is a top-down systemic thing. And I also just wanted to point this out, because I saw some spurious rumors being spread that they were going to get rid of circuit overseers in the new year. And boy, I mean, I'm not going to say I'll eat my hat. because I famously have digestive issues. But what should I do on stream if that happens? If they get rid of circuit overseers at a time when they are most trying to consolidate control, I don't see it happening. The last thing they want is a bunch of rogue elder bodies. Now that Anthony Morris is gone, and you have somebody like Rolf Ferrulli out there being like, oh boy, be sure it would be great if there was a Jehovah's Witnesses that didn't have that governing body. I think that they are probably more concerned about a schism now more than ever. That's to say nothing of all the little YouTube channels that start forming like congregations and stuff. Like they still believe a lot of witness doctrine. I don't know. I think that those are things that the organization worries about. He highlighted the role of Watchtower as the main publication, emphasizing its focus on Bible study and the purposes of its articles. Mentioned the book Keep Yourself in God's Love. He expressed a perception that the literature has been simplified over time, deviating from deep Bible study that Jehovah's Witnesses were previously trained on. This is really intriguing. Okay, so he gets into his stuff about the 70s, yes. I think that that's interesting testimony because it's almost like he's saying, yeah, maybe they used to have more autonomy, but they do not anymore. Yeah, shout out. I love Blue Envelope Channel. I just think, see, like what I wish that I was better at. If Phil was doing this stream, he would be able to just be chill and stay on task and read this and make it compelling. That's why that channel's great. Hey, people are celebrating Crystal, and I want to. Hey, you got a commission. I'm so happy. I just needed to share my irrelevant. That's not irrelevant at all. That's great. Blue Envelope is an XJW channel, and it's referencing the blue envelopes that, at least, I don't know if they're literally blue anymore, but it used to be that like permanent records were kept in a blue envelope in the congregation. Man, no, I mean, I totally get this. I am a starving artist as well. Like that's how I'm trying to make a career outside of just YouTube. And I just every day I'm refreshing my email, hoping that, you know, like an agent says yes to like a book or something, or, you know. Now, Apostate Barbie just can't stay appropriate, can't stay on rack to Xavier. I think she meant on track. Okay. So they had the leader of a thing that I am genetically incapable of pronouncing. This is Hilda, leader of an organization that helps people with religious trauma. I thought this was really interesting to read, and really this should serve as a model, I would think, for any future litigation against Watchtower as it pertains to human rights, is like get people who deal with religious trauma victims. She mentions, I think, like a third of her clients are ex-witnesses. Yeah. She shared insights into the organization's background, highlighting her personal connection as being married to someone raised as a witness. Oh, that's interesting. I think I was reading this stuff from Larchwood's account. I don't think I read the Avoid JW version of this. People reaching out for help include those who fear breaking away, individuals who have already left and find themselves isolated, sometimes people dealing with psychological trauma. The main challenges faced by these individuals involved losing their social network and grappling with doomsday fears. Many seek assistance to lead a life free from social control, and the organization aims to support them. Her organization, not the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, aims to help them in moving forward. Yeah. The consequences of breaking away, such as losing contact with the congregation, are discussed, with some expressing fear of leaving. I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but like when I first woke up, I had some like free insurance visits, like through my insurance. Try that again. I had some free therapy, like consults through my insurance. And so I saw somebody who is close, and it wasn't a good fit. I'm now with somebody who deals with Well, Christina's therapist is somebody who deals specifically with religious trauma. I don't know how she got that deal. My person has dealt with shunning, though. They deal with a lot of like LGBTQ people who have been like kicked out of their homes. That's why she was recommended to me, and it's a really good fit. And hey, boom. Good point. Me and Ex-Witness Awake talked about this in a conversation that he's going to debut on his channel this Tuesday at 10 a.m. EST. So if you want to hear me talk about therapy and what, medications I've taken, I don't think we talk about that specifically, but anyway. So what the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, like the therapist I saw initially through my insurance, she was like, well, like, are you sure that your parents are gonna shun you though? Like, they really love you, right? They wouldn't do that. And that, like, it wasn't a good fit, not of any fault of this person, but she hadn't dealt with this before. And she was just shocked and was like, yeah, no, there's no way that they won't. They're Jehovah's Witnesses. This is what they do. And so a lot of people just don't understand, like, the fear, like when you are PMO, you're just like, it's like for the first time in your life, you've dealt with this fear of Armageddon, but now you know that there is this very real Armageddon that's happening, and it's you can't avoid it. Like if you leave, you are going to be shunned. That's Armageddon now, and it's really, really traumatic to deal with. So anyway, this person's testimony is really great. I feel bad just reading articles that other people wrote without providing a lot of my own commentary. So I'm not just like stealing people's shit and posting it on my YouTube channel. Therese displaying remarkable strength. The courtroom was emotionally intense hearing her story. So this is the one that apparently brought the waterworks. My goodness. Therese holds a crucial role as a key witness, delivering an impactful testimony. She brought people to tears, apparently. There's a moment when she displayed remarkable strength despite the emotional intensity, while half the people accompanying her broke down in tears. Through her testimony, she spoke with a passion and determined demeanor, describing the background of her experience with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want to co-opt this person's trauma for my shitty stream, but you should read this. It's good. It is very powerful. And yeah, it's just hard to read about people's experiences, It's hard to read about the effects this has. Here's something that I think is, I'm glad this was said. I noticed this when I was reading the updates. She said that, like, she had a good childhood. She often felt lonely being the only witness in her school. Nearly her entire family belonged to the witness community. That's another like, I was profoundly lonely throughout school. Absolutely hated school. Absolutely just always felt like an outcast. I wasn't bullied or anything, but you just can't be that. You just can't be close friends with people. Like, it's illegal. Like, it's weird. Now, like, my best friend was my best friend in school from like 4th grade to now, Bart Brown, who, if you want to support an illustrator, he did the devil logo for my channel. But like, even my best friend in school, I wasn't really allowed to be his best friend until now that I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. It's really weird. Sorry. And then Numi, Pilot. I'm so ready for this. Reflects on the challenging process of being excluded from the religion. Numi said something that I really liked, that I wanted to bring up. Yeah, there you go. People were nice to me and greeted me at the start of every meeting. After I was announced I was no longer Jehovah's Witness, everyone looked to the ground and grew cold toward me. And she was disfellowshipped at 18. That's, I don't know. I'm now 31. I don't remember. Don't remember. I didn't celebrate my birthday growing up. I think I'm 31. I think I'm going to be 32 in a few weeks. And like every year, it just stands out to me. Like, fuck, dude, it's so weird that I thought I was like a 19-year-old Jehovah's Witness ready to be married. Like, no, that's still, you are a kid. You are a kid when you are 18, 19 years old. Like, that's devastating. Her entire life until the age of 18, she'd been a Jehovah's Witness. And then, you know, you're entirely cut off from that. And everybody who's supposed to love you in your only community that you're a part of now looks to the ground, avoids eye contact with you. And this is not something that only happens in the Kingdom Hall. If I can continue to make things about me. No, just to talk about my own experience with this. I don't think I mentioned this on stream because I don't know. I know that some of my coworkers sometimes watch my stuff, which makes me deeply uncomfortable. I don't like that anybody knows I do this. Don't tell anyone, okay? If you're watching this, like and subscribe and keep it to yourself. This is between us. This is between us, 270 or so people watching right now. But so somebody from, I know, I wouldn't say I know them very well, but they were in my congregation for like ever as a Jehovah's Witness. We were super close with this person's family, like really close friends with her brother-in-law, and she now works where I work, like in my department. Now, they work on a different shift. So usually we don't work at the same time. Usually, as I am leaving for the day, this person is coming in. But they're still a Jehovah's Witness. They're in my parents' congregation, I think, or at least are still close friends with my parents. And even though we are now technically coworkers, because there are times when like I have to do training for people in other shifts. So like I've had to do training with this person. Still doesn't look at me. Still has not said one word to me, won't talk to me. Very weird. It's very weird. You know, like I doesn't bother me too much because I just expect it. But it is just weird. It's just weird, isn't it? I don't understand how even at work it can happen. But like, how many people in Shao right now have like been at the grocery store and oh my God, you see old brother so-and-so, and then they see you and you're like, hey, and they're like, oh, like they saw literally Satan. Like the fucking Conjuring just happens to them if you just see a witness at the store. This guy, Jordan Peterson, my voice is a little raspy, so I think I can conjure my Jordan Peterson. Look, woke moralists, Jehovah's Witnesses encourage parents to take loving care of their children. They do not control the family life of the members. Each family must make its own decisions in matters of child rearing, and the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses does not interfere with family relations. I don't know if that was a good Jordan Peterson. I understand. I know it's not actually Jordan Peterson. Close enough. Close enough for jazz. And fuck this guy. How dare he say this? How dare he say this shit? You know what? I think this is the first time I've ever said "how dare you" out loud. And I don't like it. I didn't like saying it. Miss Usato, you are truly the MVP of this stream. This is the last 2 hours. I've just been reading your articles out loud, basically. So thank you so much for typing all these up. They were really great. And thank you again to Larchwood. Those like minute by minutes were so like, I don't know. It was just making my day reading those throughout the work week this past week, just being able to check into that thread. So thank you for doing that. If you've not heard Jordan Peterson, he really does just sound like Kermit. It's kind of a meme. Jordan Peterson, Elmo. Opioids work, moralists. Let's see how many dozens of people turn off the stream after I did that horrifying Elmo voice. I think sorry. I got a text and was immediately like, I should just talk about this out loud, right? Probably not. So Rolf really mentioned the Keep Yourself in God's Love book. And it's so bad for their case. It's so bad for their case. Look at what it says. The disfellowship relative may be living outside the immediate family circle and home, although there might be a need for limited contact on some rare occasion for a necessary family matter. Any such contact should be kept to a minimum. Loyal Christian family members do not look for excuses to have dealings with a disfellowship relative not living at home. Rather, loyalty to Jehovah and his organization moves them to uphold the scriptural arrangement of disfellowshipping. Their loyal course has the best interests of the wrongdoer at heart and may help him to benefit from the discipline received. Written by a ghoul, written by actual supervillains. Not just that this was written, but that then fake Swedish Jordan Peterson and a Care Bear, two puppets as far as I'm concerned, Kermit the Frog and a Care Bear, go up and lie on the stand of the Norwegian government to this. Like, how can you fucking say this? They do not control the life of members. Cut to what their actual books say. If you contact your family member for anything other than they're bleeding out on the side of the road, God is going to be sad at you. All right. Well, we've talked about this for 2 hours. I wanted to just say there was one little point that was brought up. I think it was Numi in the Vartland article. I think it was her that said this, but somebody mentioned in this that like the disfellowshipping arrangement, it does affect everybody. Like it's not just, well, just never sin and never leave and never break the rules and never do anything. Like, even if you are a good Jehovah's Witness and do everything right, you are still living with this knowledge in the back of your head that if you mess up, you could be disfellowshipped. Like, you are still living in fear. And I really liked that one of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that testified brought that up. Like, this practice is not just like harmful for the people it obviously affects because they are disfellowshipped. It's bad for everybody. It's bad to have this threat over your head all the time. It's not healthy. It's not good. And that's why, you know, I still think, despite it's so miserable going through the process of getting disfellowshipped and like getting used to the new normal, because of course it should not be normal for your parents and your family to cut you off. Like, the like emotional weight that I carry on a day-to-day basis is still just less. It's still just less somehow, because I'm not constantly worried about dying in Armageddon. I'm not worried about being disfellowshipped. And I had a moment recently where I talked. Okay, so the beard thing happened, right? Suddenly beards are allowed, and I just had to text my dad. Me and my dad, you know, he is a lot like me personality-wise. Well, in his sense of humor, he's very sarcastic and he's competitive, and we liked to debate. You know, we liked to debate. And the when the beard thing came out, I just remembered us having all these conversations. I know that he didn't agree with the beard thing, so I had to text him. And I texted him a nice thing. I was like, I'm honestly like really happy for you. I texted him like, you know, I had a text with the beard thing, winky face. I was like, it brought me back to all those conversations we had, like on our road trips with other brothers. And I'm really glad for the Kreitz boys. You know, they get to grow beards. I wish I could be there when you guys go on vacation so I could see everybody's beards and what it looks like. And he never responded. Why did I bring that up? I don't know. But there is more to the trial next week, right? There's still more to come. I believe there's another week of testimony. Maybe Miss Usato can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But thank you, everybody, for joining. I obviously could continue to talk about this for a lot longer, but I think we've got a good overview of what happened here. Like, Watchtower, like they do in a lot of situations, like they brought this on themselves. I personally am like fully against the stuff like in Russia. Big surprise for me. Yeah, I think Russia's. I think fucking Vladimir Putin's not a good guy. I don't like dictatorships, and I don't think that people should be imprisoned for believing in a thing that the government disagrees with, right? And so I think that's ridiculous. I don't think that Jehovah's Witnesses should be banned, but I think if they are committing human rights abuses, that should be fixed. It makes the lives of Jehovah's Witnesses better. And so Jehovah's Witnesses, by which I mean Watchtower, really screwed themselves. They didn't have to sue Norway for doing this. They did not have to make this a whole thing. They could have taken the L and not taken their money because they don't get it anymore and just stayed quiet and not raised a stink. And now they're completely embarrassing themselves in court. I mean, I got to think if you are in Norway, you have to be aware of this. There's no way that you don't know about it. In the same way that if you're in Pennsylvania right now, there's no way that you don't know about the litigation because it involves every elder body and it's in the papers and stuff. Same thing in Washington with the child protection stuff. So like they keep on pushing these issues, making a media firestorm, and they have no choice but to lie in court because their leaders are proud egomaniacs who want complete control over all the members. It's just sucks. It sucks. They should stop it. They should stop being abusive, human rights, abusing people. So thank you for watching. I wish that there was more video to watch. I couldn't even find like media from Norway. I wanted to like make an intro that at least showed like some TV coverage, but I couldn't find like stuff. I'm sure it's there. Thank you so much to everybody in the community who has been covering this, who has been posting updates, translating stuff into different languages so that everybody can know about it. Because shit, I've got one more thing. I forgot I did a thing. I found a thing and I did a thing because, oh man, see, this is why I'm so upset that my notes got deleted. All right, so I was trying to find any English-speaking press about this. And so I just, I did Google News search. And this is from today by something called Diplomat Magazine. Norway, a trial about the state's intrusion into religious beliefs. I'm like, what is this bullshit? Written by Willy Fautré. Now, if you're a fan of this channel, if you're a fan, if you've seen that shunning video, this guy's name is in there because Willy Fautré is a lobbyist for cults. He works with Massimo Intravine and the Cessna Group. He's contributed to their Journal of Cessna many times, contributes to Bitter Winter, this bizarre propaganda site that Massimo and his cronies have set up to like drown out negative news for the cults that they like in the Google News algorithm. Yeah, Willy Fautré is a part of that. But I have no idea what the fuck Diplomat Magazine is. And yeah, you can see by the framing here, he doesn't talk about the victims at all. He talks about a trial into the state's intrusion into religious beliefs. And this was the first thing that came up when I Googled Norway Jehovah's Witnesses. And that really made me fucking mad. I really didn't like that. And so, yes, this guy is Massimo's pal. And by the way, Mr. Satu in chat, thank you for the, yeah, no kidding. I mean, you did 5 days worth of covering a court trial in a different language. Good stuff. Yeah, it does seem like paid propaganda. I don't know what the fuck Diplomat Magazine is. They describe themselves as for diplomats by diplomats. Whomst? Name me a diplomat. I don't know any. So, I mean, maybe this just isn't for me. But this article is really, stupid and annoying. It's the typical bullshit things that they put out. News reports about state revoking the witnesses' deregistration stigmatized the nearly 12,000 Jehovah's Witnesses of Norway. Oh no, they've been stigmatized by what? How exactly have they been stigmatized? They do disfellowshipping. The state says you can't do that. And Jehovah's Witnesses says, well, we're going to do it anyway. And Norway says, okay, you just don't get a free like $1 million a year. But that's fine. You don't have to, like, no one's going to jail or anything. You just don't get free money. Well, this is unacceptable. The negative media coverage has led to considerable increase in verbal abuse, physical assaults, as well as vandalism of places of worship. It was very familiar. I did a stream a few weeks ago with Ron Pomo where we talked about some of this weird apology that Watchtower does. And they try and play up this idea that they are undergoing verbal abuse because newspapers are accurately reporting that Watchtower is suing Norway. I mean, it's just stupid. So when I see articles like this now, I don't just complain on stream. I have been inspired by the likes of My Little Pimo, who is in chat and has done incredible on the ground work in Washington, Ron Pomo, and all the usual suspects. So I sent an email to Diplomat Magazine. They have a contact us page, and you can email them, diplomatmagazinenl@gmail.com. So I emailed them, and I don't know if I really need to like read off the whole thing, but I am urging them to take down the article. I'll read you what I wrote. I'm writing in regards to an article published on your website today entitled Norway, a Trial About the State's Intrusion into Religious Beliefs by a Man Called Willy Fautré. This is a grossly misleading article written by someone who is paid by Jehovah's Witnesses to spin their narratives. Mr. Fautré is a lobbyist for cults like Scientology, the Moonies, and Jehovah's Witnesses. He writes articles like this to drown out negative press for the Witnesses in Google's newsfeed. He also appears in JW publications, as you can see here. I linked to their website. If you just search Willy Fautré, there's like several results because they cite him. He is listed as an expert academic in Watchtower's research document they submitted to the Norwegian court. As a matter of fact, it's an 800-page document, so I won't attach it here. But if you would like it, if you'd like more evidence, let me know and I can send it. Yeah, like he wrote that really weird Jehovah's Witnesses in Kazakhstan thing that is it him? One of those guys I dunk on really hard in that at the back end of that shunning video. And yeah, it was one of his fake pseudo-scholarly articles, which is literally just like information from Watchtower online library, but presented in whatever format is deemed appropriate for academia. Bullshit. I wrote, what is particularly disturbing about this article is how it presents the Norway trial as being about the state's intrusion into religious beliefs. This trial is about children and families who have been traumatized by shunning, sexual abuse, and doomsday panic by the leaders of the group. Multiple former members testified at this hearing, and your article does not present this at all. The article also fails to mention that the court showed multiple videos and articles made by Jehovah's Witnesses that expose the group's lawyers and witnesses as lying. I'm not sure if it's your practice to smuggle pro-cult propaganda into your publication, but I strongly urge you to take the article down or update it with the full facts about who the author is, or this side, presenting the side of the story from the abuse victims. So that's kind of my New Year's resolution to myself, is like, to try and call out publications that publish puff pieces. Now, I'd be honest, Diplomat Magazine wasn't on my radar. I was thinking more like local newspapers. I think mine's probably going right in the trash bin, but whatever. It's completely ridiculous that they don't disclose that this guy is a paid shill for Watchtower. What this guy does for a living is write positive stuff about Jehovah's Witnesses. That's something your shitty magazine should disclose. Thank you, Donna Earl, for the super chat. And Apostate Barbie, have I never told you this? I'm in Finland. I've been lying the whole time. I'm sure he's Catholic like Massimo Interview, I'm not sure. Massimo is on YouTube, and one of his videos he claims to be Catholic. Really? That's weird to me. It's a little weird to me that he is so defensive of witnesses because they're so, I guess they're less anti-Catholic now, or at least less openly anti-Catholic. Massimo is a weird guy, but he's also, yeah, exactly. I mean, he's just the fucking loser who uses his academic credentials to make money off of vulnerable communities. We watched, I thought this was so interesting because on last week's stream, which was mostly about a recent video they put out on blood, I just decided to kind of click around and go down the rabbit hole of one of the guys that Watchtower uses in their like curated propaganda that they put out there, masquerading as real articles. And we found that like he has a totally different Cessner type organization. And it's just weird. Like, who are these academics who sell their souls to grant rights to organizations that shun people, that instill doomsday fears, that have a history of covering up CSA and the organization? Like, who are these demented people? It sucks. It sucks. Well, thank you for watching. Now I'll actually end it. I wanted to go over that because I thought, let's keep an eye out on like any fluff pieces that these winter people, and that's what we're calling it too. I'm bitter. I'm the bitter apostate. Is that part of what they're doing with the title Bitter Winter? Is they're like, oh, those apostates. Now it's the bitter apostate winter. Do a voice. I don't know what people from Finland sound like. I don't know. It would just be like, hey, thank you, ex-witness awake, for hanging out. So, main show over. Now just rambling for people who like hearing me ramble for some reason. Totally opposed to the previous content of this broadcast. Now I'm going to be a little unfocused and just ramble. No, I just wanted to provide an update on what I'm working on. So I've just kind of like, I've made this decision. I hope that this video does okay. The live streams do, like, I don't know. I love doing the live streams, but I'm still going to be making main channel content. I feel determined to make the thing I'm working on right now the first video I released this year, because I think when you see it, you'll see like it's just a more ambitious kind of video than I generally do. Like, it is, I think, of the quality of the shunning video in terms of like getting really deep into these into some sources. I'm using like a teleprompter, and it's just there's more production going into it. I think the script is really strong, but it's taken forever. It's taking a really long time. I think I'm 3/4 of the way done with it now. I edited. I think Christina's been taking a nap. She's got a migraine. She suffers from migraines. I'm sure it helps that her husband is constantly loudly yelling for hours every Sunday. But she can attest, like, I got up, I don't know, from like 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. I did nothing but edit. I did nothing but edit all day. Somebody accused me of needing to take a shower, by the way, which I was very upset by. Who said that shit? Because this is me freshly showered. I definitely needed one earlier. But man, somebody was really taking me to task. I think I just look shiny because of my ring light. But anyway, no. Yesterday, it was like I looked like the guy in South Park. He was just like completely messy and disgusting in front of his computer. So yeah, I mean, every minute of video takes a really long time. And basically, it's about it was a troll. Well, that's outrageous, and I won't allow this. I choose to believe that they were sincerely accusing me of being smelly through the computer screen. So this is about the Watchtower Freemason conspiracy, debunking it. Rest assured. but I'm worried about it. I'm a little worried about it. I'm a little worried about the potential drama, because the project has just become bigger than I wanted it to be initially. The plan was, okay, well, this is going to be like a small appendix or prelude to a much bigger video about the New World Order conspiracy theory, which is where the Freemason thing originates. The Watchtower Freemason thing is tied up in the conspiracy that the Illuminati control the world. If you don't know anything about this conspiracy theory or any conspiracy theories, it is that most of them, the deeper you go into the rabbit hole, are deeply anti-Semitic. And the original source text for the Watchtower Freemason conspiracy, I didn't know that the guy who wrote it is just such a character, and he's written and said and done a lot of things, and we get into it, but I'm a little, like, selfishly, I'm worried that I'm putting a lot, like, way more effort into this than I've put into anything before, and that it's gonna be, like, flagged or demonetized. I'm not worried about it for the money reason, but because the algorithm won't promote it. And it's a little tough. Hell yes. We really need it. We really need it. There's so many, and I've talked about this on streams before, but I'm passionate about it because my path to like deconstructing Jehovah's Witnesses was like I started watching videos debunking certain conspiracy theories, like flat earthers or Q, or like alt-right stuff, great replacement conspiracy theories. Those were going around when the alt-right was rising in 2017, and that's when I was starting to just be more, I don't know, like go outside my more immediate comfort zone in YouTube, and just like watching people debunk stuff generally made me think, oh, if what apostates are saying is so obviously wrong, why don't we do this? Why don't we debunk what the apostates are saying? And they and that got me thinking, wait a minute. It turns out that if you think a thing is wrong, then it should be easy for you to explain why and to demonstrate why. And the fact that the organization refused to do this with whatever it was apostates were saying just started to really bother me. So anyway, like I've just always been interested in that. And there are a lot of, there is a lot of conspiracy stuff in the XJW community as well. And I don't have any ill will towards anybody who believes in that stuff, but I think that they have been taken for a ride a little bit by really cynical grifters who, and I don't think that they know about some of the origins of these conspiracies. So, like, in the same way that I think that the best way to debunk Watchtower stuff is just to look at what they say and what is their logic. I wanted to do that with the original Watchtower Freemason book. So the video is mostly dedicated to going through this book the same way that I would go through a Watchtower and debunking it, right? Oh no, I mean, it's far from unique to Jehovah's. Like, conspiracies are just everywhere, and most people believe in some kind of conspiracy theory. Like, I know I do. As a concession, I give my conspiracy theories about the governing body rings in the video, right? Because that's how it started. I was like, oh, I should finally do a video about why are the governing body members wearing these rings, and what I found was basically the author of that book, he is still around, and he still is not such a good guy. Not such a good guy, and we get into it. But I know that, like, right now, I know there's some folks who are like, no, like, they're definitely Freemasons. Well, if you agree that it just is what it is, then I think you should watch the video, because you got nothing to worry about. You'll just be right, and I will be wrong, and you can prove me wrong. But I think that, yeah, I address everything in this comment here. That Charles Taze Russell had Freemason friends and possibly was one. Oh, well, that is true. I truly believe that Charles Taze Russell had Freemason friends. He did. He said he did. And he definitely liked a lot of their iconography and stuff. But then there's more to it than that. There's pretty conclusive evidence that he was not a Freemason. So I hope you give it a shot. It's a really interesting conversation. And that's the other thing. Like, there's variations of what you mean when you talk about when you say conspiracy, because, like, you know, the Freemasons are a real group. It is a real fraternity, and especially in the 1800s, it was very common, you know, fraternity to join. So, like, that wouldn't be that conspiratorial. You know, the larger claims, if it was just Russell was a Freemason, well, what would that even mean, right? I think that's what's going to be interesting about it, is going into the original texts, where this theory originated, what are their proofs? Because it's easy to say, like, oh, well, there's a pyramid by where he's buried. The thing is, all of this stuff has been debunked for a long time. Like, JW Facts has an article and a video about it. There are plenty of things that address all these things. And so I wanted to take a different approach. And, well, that's not sound reasoning, I don't think. I'm super close with a lot of Christians. I'm not a Christian. In fact, I don't like Christianity. I don't think anyone should be a Christian. But I don't know. I'm close with a lot of Christians. Oh no. Well, there are people who you wonder, well, if they weren't a Jehovah's Witness, they might actually be over. Well, I think this is not just a belief. Like, he actually was. Like, Freemasons, you can look up members of Freemasons. There are, well, I'm glad you said that. If you keep digging, you see, like, I did dig. I have dug. I hit pay dirt, and the result will be this video. And what I find, well, it's not the original text in terms of the original text about Freemasonry in the New World Order, but in terms of, you'll see why we talk about this guy. You'll see. He's a pretty prominent person in his field, if you want to call it that. Freemasonry was the LinkedIn of that time. If you were a white man, yes, probably. Jake, you got to follow the money. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is why I'm worried. We're going to lose subscribers, almost certainly, because I got news for you. He wasn't a Freemason. He was not a Freemason. There's not only no evidence that he was, there is evidence that he was not. So we will get into it. But what I notice is, hey, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm just blabbing about bullshit. I know I need to go to the store.
What are you talking about? Everything's fine.
Putting off my chores.
If only you're a Freemason.
Hey, I may be a free man, but I'm not a Freemason. Damn it, I meant to wear that ring. You know that weird little ring we got at the Renaissance Fair? It kind of looks like a signet ring.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. Don't worry. I know.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Well, I still want to be clear too that, like, I think you'll see too that, like, the issues with, like, yeah, I think this is the thing, is like, that's what I'm interested in exploring, is like, when does it go from this is fun, look at all these interesting connections and patterns, to something else? And that's another question we answer. I love this. It's here's what's good. I think that the reassurance that I'm getting is that, like, a lot of the things that are being said in chat are things that I'm bringing up. I don't want to. The world is a stage. Hey, the world is a stage. Do you have a YouTube channel? Because I want to. I just email me where it is a stage. Email me. Okay. I think maybe Richards has her pyramid. Can you send that to me? We definitely get into do your own research. Then this is a big part of it too. I don't know why I'm even doing this. Okay, sorry. I'm procrastinating. That's why. It's because my favorite pastime is procrastinating. My favorite pastime is not working on it. But I gotta say, I've been putting in reps on this thing. So we'll see. Thank you for watching, everybody. And we're gonna end up. Yeah, the stonecutters. Love it. Oh, okay. Can I tell you why I asked you that? It's because I do show some clips from YouTube channels. My rule of thumb has always been, just because I've noticed it's what other people seem to do, is like, don't show clips from people who have a smaller channel than you. And there's one channel I show a clip from just so I can show examples of, like, okay, here's what people are saying the conspiracy is, so that I can then go into detail about it. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to dunk on smaller channels. And there's one channel, and I saw in your profile picture, the world is a stage looks like the profile picture from the channel. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to show a clip from your video if it's gonna upset you. Ooh, spoiler alert. Okay, I should end this before I keep going. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again to everybody who covered this stuff throughout the week. And do the Bartman.